This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Start, Grow, Manage podcast. I am Joe.
And I'm Jeff. How's it going, Joe?
It's going good. How you feeling today?
Good. Welcome to spring. I went on a walk at lunchtime, full-on coat. I was
Sweating.
Okay, it was only 50 degrees outside, but I was ready for minus 20. And when I got home, I was full-on, sweating and miserable. So I was thinking, yeah, cool. Spring is springing. It's going to rain. So what do they say? March showers bring April flowers.
I'm ready for some heat, man.
And then you get to August, and I'm ready for winter. But anyway, that is not what we're here to talk about today. We have with us today a special guest, Steve McKeon, who goes by Mac. So we're just going to stick with Mac because he's a MacGyver of things. He is an IT software leader. He's got 25 years of solving hard problems. The best thing from the bio, I like Joe, he excels at voiding warranties, which sounds exactly like our kind of people.
That is
right?
our kind of people. Exactly.
He runs a company called MacGyver Tech, and they build useful, usable products out of duct tape and baling wire. And then they use computers as well to give you the ability to track and manage data, access current historical, operational information, improve communications, automate processes. And they've got some pretty cool security stuff coming out as well. Mac, say hi. Tell everybody what I missed in your intro there.
No, you guys did a really fantastic job. So I'm excited to be here. And the one thing maybe you did miss is I just want to address the elephant in the room. You see the MacNerd behind me. That is our other brand that focuses solely on blockchain development. But, we're both blockchain company or software companies. Just in the blockchain space. So I just wanted to clear up any confusion, wondering what the cool MacNerd back there is.
Don't worry, MacNerd, you've got the music going.
Yes, I do. Yeah, you see
company. So you are a busy man, my friend.
Yes, unfortunately I am. I wish I get to spend more time on the music stuff. That is my hobby bucket. Having two companies to run is no short order. That's for sure. But I do spend some time. I got a 7-year-old kid as well, and he's over here being DJ, kind of thing and loving it. So it's cool to have that experience as well with the music and my kid.
Does he play games at all on your
Oh
side?
my God, he's a phenomenal gamer.
For anybody who's just listening, Steve's got 5 screens set up in a big TV. So could you imagine, Joe, you're like a 7-year-old and you walk into that room. You're like, oh, here I am in Star Trek. I get to do cool stuff. That would be awesome.
It is pretty cool. He's trying to spend some good time with him. He's not going to be that young forever, that's for sure. Pretty soon he's like, Dad, leave me alone.
Dude, it goes by fast.
He's already grown a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
18 in college. He just came home from college for a few days. He drove home, drove to Washington D.C., drove here. I don't know. It's crazy how fast it goes.
My oldest daughter just turned 30 on Monday. Remember like holding her like this. She was just like this little itty bitty thing like yesterday. And now she's 30.
I got a little ways to get to 30, but that's okay. I started late. Too.
I got a 10 and a 12 too. So I'm with you, buddy.
Oh, you're right. And you got a big gamut of greens there.
That's a whole other story, guys.
That's a story for another day.
That's part 2.
Beer, maybe a couple of scotches.
I love it.
So, Mac, tell us a little bit about MacGyver and really who your perfect customer is. And then what problem do you solve for them?
Yeah, sure. I'll start a little back up to me. I initially started these companies here, MacGyver Media initially about 10 years ago. And then we rebranded that to MacGyver Tech because at the time, there wasn't many media companies and it made sense. It's a cool name. But the problem is we're a tech company. And over time, media companies became like marketing companies. And we had to change our identity, but still the same concept. We're a custom software dev shop that really cares about a couple core values. And it's really simple. We always care about transparency, integrity. We have a security-focused mindset, and we care about accountability. And that's baked into our culture, into our organization, and how we think and operate. So we're basically like a software dev shop that you probably see a lot of them out there, but we're more security-minded than your average shop. We are part of a cool organization called the FBI InfoGuard. So we generally work with FBI cybercrime and criminal activities that are on the web that you might not know about. We help defend American infrastructure and make America a safer place using our skill sets and our knowledge as a software dev shop.
First time we've had somebody associated with the FBI on the show. being monitored at this point.
FBI is not going to come after you
FBI,
like
and
that.
they'd have to be pretty bored to come down to my level. They'd be like, "Oh, he doesn't have a minivan anymore. What's happening over there?" No,
But at first, it was very intimidating to talk to FBI agents. I could tell you that. You want to be careful what you say. You know what I mean? Anything you can and say will be used against you.
you're like, no, but I work with you.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm here to
and
help
we're
you
still
guys,
gonna
right?
use
Sorry,
you.
son.
So
Anyway, sorry, I'm cutting aside, but it's cool. We get to see stuff that others don't. We have access to systems, but we're really just the good guys here to help people be protected. And we really care about that. It's, like I said, baked into us. So we build secure software that's easy to use and also good looking. That's what we do.
I love the good looking part, by the way.
I think
We
that's
talk
important,
about-
honestly.
Oh,
about
it
that.
is.
You have no idea how important that is.
No, it is because we talk about technology being technology, but really it has to work for humans. And if it's not attractive, people don't use it. That's just a fact about it.
We work with our eyes more than anything else. That's why our
Yeah.
visual cortex is so large. You got to pay attention to the visuals. And then over the years of being in software for 25 years, I've seen a lot of dev shops or just software engineers in general. They just focus on the engineering.
Yeah.
Those 50 page button switches and buttons on this page, you're cool, right? You're like, what do you mean? What do I even start? You have to be really conscious of your audience and even more so of what's the long-term play of these things we build. They have years in life cycles with companies, and we're there just to help them be more efficient, build better systems.
So who is your typical customer? Who do you typically work with?
That's a really good question. As a software dev shop, we work with all types of companies, manufacturers, distributors, companies that, ship and have lots of things. Some of our customers are like Anheuser beer distributors. We also work with like large manufacturers for Eaton products and Generac generators. What we do is we build all their systems behind the scenes that'll tie the warehouse together with their inventory system, with their accounting system, and give them one unified system, or I like to call it one system to rule them all.
Yeah.
And what that does, it allows them to really scale and grow as a unit much more effectively than they ever had before.
How would you describe the problem that they have when you're going in?
Fragmented systems, fragmented data sets. The warehouse is ahead or behind the accounting. Everything's in disarray. You got things running at different intervals. Nothing's running in sync. Once you lock everything together, now you can run them in sync. Reporting aspects, give you an example with HM Craig, the company we just did. We spent 5,000 man hours to do this. And we tied together all these systems. What we did is at the end, we made all their data sets go into one database server, one data cluster. And so now what we can do is cross database queries without having them bottlenecks. Because a company of that size and scale would have so much data to send through. And let's say I want to merge that with my accounting. You would have to pump all that data over there first, then put it into a temp table, merge it. And that's time delay right there. We have it all in one place. We get real-time data instantly now for every aspect of their business, which I think that really gives you the real-time holy grail, what most companies are looking for. So that's what we like to do, is really build systems that help them scale.
Pretty awesome.
We like doing that, but that's just one facet of our business as a builder. We're also been building a product for ourselves for the first time. And I don't know if it's too early to get into that yet.
Let's just talk about that in a second. I'm wondering if you could give us your offering with managed service providers.
So as a partner, one of our strongest partners are managed service providers and IT companies, because a lot of times, as being somebody who's been in IT and software for around 25 years, initially you can have an IT company do software back in the day. Now they've become two separate industries. Now, a lot of these IT companies will get themselves in hot water, try to tinker around with it, think they can get it right, making a customer unhappy, things go off the rails. They give us a call. We fix and clean it up. We're professionals. This is what we do. We do software. Software is our business, and we'll make that whatever it needs to be for them. So we usually partner with them because we can make them look good and keep them in their lane. Even with the cybersecurity stuff, they'll try to get into it too. I see an IT company a lot of times more like a general contractor. They're in touch with a lot of different types of things, and not all of them that they're good at.
Yeah.
So what war stories have you got? I was an MSP for 20 years, right? And I never tried to tinker in this because I came up through infrastructure. So I was doing all the, rack and stack, hardware, cabling, all that stuff. So I didn't even want to mess with the coding. I got to bring an expert in for that, right? I started my MSP, but I really started on the hardware and repair side. And then I morphed into an MSP. And then I hired some really smart people, but I was like, we're not going to do coding. We always brought a partner in. But a lot of MSPs do what you said. And my fear was always that I would lose my MRR, right? If I did it myself, because the MRR is the holy grail of MSP-ness. And my fear was that if I did it myself and I screwed something up, I would lose my monthly recurring revenue. If I have a client that's paying me $20,000, $30,000 a month, I don't want to lose that $20,000, $30,000 a month because I'm going to do a $50,000 project one time.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
smart way of playing that.
So I always brought it in there, but what are some of the horror stories that have happened? What are some of the war stories that you've got about MSPs where you had to come in and save their bacon, or what's happened?
If it's got to be an MSP thing, that's different. I could tell you recently something we just did for a company that has a product. We're also really good with SaaS products too. Companies that go out to market that might have a hardware device along with software to go with it. And I could tell you with these IoT devices that are hitting the market really hard right now, many of them are very insecure. And I don't want to name the name. It was a baby monitoring software for a company. Initially, they came to us and say, hey, our insurance company is demanding us to get a security pen test to see if we're actually legit and good. We took a look at their code, immediately punted it back to them and said, we didn't see this. Please fix it. Like they hired some developers out of China. Then it was passed on to another guy in Brazil. And there was like whole crap show behind the scenes. So we literally broke the heart 3 times in this process. And listen, we finally gone through with them, multiple run-throughs of getting it right. And then we finally came to the point of we found out that their hardware device is actually sending traffic back and forth from your phone. It's all unencrypted port 80 traffic. So we were like, oh my God. So how can we fix this? So they're basically ready to go to market and they can't until we give them the green light. So give them a solution. So what we did is we came up with a clever way of encrypting and decrypting the traffic, at endpoints. And then in transit, it's just encrypted with multiple layers to prevent anybody from sniffing it out. And that was a way of getting past the security risk and giving them the stamp that they can move forward. So that was a way of us helping them as a development shop, because this is a cybersecurity company and we just did the Halos. Don't want to say the name. We did that project. They would have never seen this because we found all the stuff by looking at the code. We can look under the hood where most of the other companies can do the drive-bys, as I call them, by and see what's on the outside of your house and maybe your window's open. But we're looking at your wiring. We're looking at the infrastructure, and we actually understand that because we're builders, which really sets us apart. And we can look at the code, and it's not like this kind of gray area where IT companies or cyber companies are. So that's what separates us a little bit there. And it's a kind of a cool war story there for success. We got them to the product to launch.
And I think it's interesting as well. Like you talk about the fear of like, if I do this, lose the MRR, right? And I think that one of the things that we have to remember is that as an MSP, as any business, but as MSPs, and certainly we have to keep innovating. We have to keep doing new things. And the way that you actually drive value, the way that you are able to reduce your costs is by improving your process, is by doing more.
You don't always have to do more. You just have to be more efficient.
So you do more with less, right?
Correct.
So where you get to that point where you're getting more efficient, streamlining, and then it's easier for you to take on more pieces. And when I say more, I think, technology is always evolving. So what the standard is today, right, is going to be a small fraction of what the standard is tomorrow. And if you're not developing the tools, if you're not developing in a way that allows you to address the challenges tomorrow, then you're going to get stuck behind. So I do think that there's this fear often, if I put in these tools, if I do something different, if I change something, then I'm going to make it easy for my client to do this, and I'm going to innovate myself out of a job.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's just not that way because life evolves and you have to come up with solutions to stay ahead.
Yeah.
Right?
And I used to have that fear all the time, Jeff, when I was in MSP. It's like, oh, if I fix this, then we won't have work anymore. And then once I got over it and I started doing it, I really saw that the second you fix something, there's a whole next set of problems. What I found also is that if you get yourself into that place where you're dealing with that higher order of problems, it is so much more fun. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God. It's so much more fun. The problems that you're dealing with at that level. And so back to this development thing, one of my fears as an MSP was to bring in somebody and they would disappear on me, or bring in somebody to build something custom. And then I don't know anything about it. And I can't get anybody else to work on it. And those things really kept me away from that. Sometimes you need it.
Yes, as a software company, we can do some IT stuff, but we tend to make sure we don't get in that box either. I would rather get a network engineer to carve up the network much better than I'd have one of my engineers that maybe does development do it. I could do it, but I'm stretched for time myself. And it's good to have the right person in the right seat. You can somewhat be on a seat, but you're only going to get a halfway done job. I want to deliver excellence in any way that we can do. And if I can't do it, one of my partners can do it. Because the whole point of that is this: deliver quality work to whoever you're helping.
I get that. That's great. So I think another area where MSPs have fear is in the security realm. We're talking to somebody in the next few weeks about penetration testing. There's a general fear that, hey, if I do pen testing, if I test my security and it comes out the wrong way, I'm going to make myself look bad. Right.
Right.
And I guess what we've really discovered is that you're much better getting ahead of that than falling behind. Clients are not necessarily upset that you say, hey, you've got this security hole and we're going to work on fixing it. But they do really mind if you go in and say, look, I'm sorry, there was a security hole. So
There was a security breach, and
Yeah,
we've been compromised. And
so sorry, we didn't do things the right way, and all of your passwords have now been distributed and are for sale.
the backup system don't work anymore. Sorry, we weren't checking monitoring.
So these things do tend to come up, and you've
Yeah.
actually been working hard on security, right? So you've got some stuff. You were talking about pen testing and actually talking about bringing it into more of a continuous testing rather
Absolutely.
than doing it like once a year, once a quarter. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it's definitely something we've been keeping in mind. And keep in mind, I am an ethical hacker, and security's always been top of mind for my entire career and life. And it's something that's really important to me. One thing, as being in the software world for about a decade now, I found a lot of my competitors that are in the software world don't care about security as much as I do. Like, security is always kind of an afterthought. They just want to slap it on, and after they're done, and we think we're good, and they slap a band-aid on it.
No wonder there's so many break-ins.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to bake it in. You got to start from the
Yeah.
ground up.
Yeah.
And we really want to strengthen that, not just for us, but for other software companies and SaaS products. There's a lot of people looking for something out there that's a little bit more persistent than just like a pen test once a year. So we came up with a productized version of a pen test, but on a 6-month interval. So basically, for the same price you would get a pen test for an annual kind of report, we give you 2 of them within a year. But what we're doing, we have about 20 tools we can run against you, and we run them over this course of a 6-month and rinse and repeat. And what did we learn? And on top of that, we're calling this PVA, Persistent Vulnerability Assessment. We're a full development shop, which separates us from the cyber companies that can potentially maybe automate some of these tools. We are a full dev shop, so we can actually look on the inside in the code review for your applications, and we give a complimentary code review included in our packages, which the cyber companies can't really do because they're not a software dev shop. So
Yeah.
kind of puts us in a different place. You get to see, as a CEO of a company or an owner of a company, a third party validate your dev shop or dev people and say, you know what, they're actually doing good stuff or not. And then you can plug the holes and actually sleep good at night. Because I talk to countless CEOs that are like, hey, I have my dev teams. I was like, yeah, we're really good. Everything's excellent. They give me the thumbs up. But how do I really know that?
Right.
Software is such a thing is you can't just it's not like a visual. Like, you can look at a UX designer and immediately know if something's good or not. You can't do that with code. You have to get in the weeds, and there might be one line of code that could screw a whole thing up that you don't know, or a misconfiguration, or something wasn't coming out properly. I can give you an example. We audited a large shipping company, one of the largest in the world. They're actually in the process of acquiring shipping applications to help them automate and become more proficient. The application was stellar, rock solid, except for the developers exposed all the API keys because they didn't comment out the console log of all the keys when they were basically doing testing. So even though the code was good, they had a misconfiguration where they exposed all the API
All
keys.
the API keys are for everybody.
You can see it clear as day. It was a bonehead move that some developer forgot to turn a switch on or off for dev mode and left it in the production server. And here you go, exposed all that information.
We've been having that problem with the history at ChatGPT, Joe.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
why?
really?
You know why? Because they also had a security problem, right? Because apparently you could a couple little keystrokes, and all of a sudden you could see everybody's history. So you could go through and like the whole history was available, right? So they had
They
to
didn't gate their routes, didn't secure their endpoints to basically, even though ChatGPT is using AI, it's still using traditional Web 2.0 technologies to send REST requests to the server, front end and back end. And I guarantee we've had this happen before, is they didn't lock down the permissions along with the data being sent for the request.
I guess the thing is, it's going to happen, right? These things are going to happen. So
Security,
I think
software
that,
and security are really hard. It's the best way to put it.
But thinking about our MSPs and our listeners out there, I think the idea of bringing someone in to test your environment or test your client's environment or try and poke some holes in what you're doing, on one hand, you don't want to look like an idiot. On the other hand, it really seems like a way to add a lot of value. If you can go to your client and say, we've been running this persistent vulnerability assessment, and these are the things that keep coming up, and these are the things that need to be.
But I'll tell you,
That's
even
huge,
from
right?
an MSP's perspective, right? Because I can't tell you how many times I would say to my clients, look, these are recommendations. These are the things that we need to do now. This is what's got to happen. And they're like, oh, no, we don't see that we need that. We don't think we need that. We don't think we need it. Right. And
Right.
so they're holding off and holding off.
Yeah.
And the beauty is when you bring in a third party and they go, here's all the holes. And then the client comes back to you and says, look at all these holes we have. You go, you see over there on your desk under the blue folder? That's all the proposals that I gave you.
I've been talking about those.
Like, I've been
holes
waiting for
last
this
year.
day.
Yeah. They're like right there under the blue folder. Just move your hand a little bit. Yep, that's it right there. That's the
it.
stack of proposals that I gave you to fix those problems over the last year that you've been putting off. And that's exactly the
Exactly right.
reason why you have to have these things. But you have to be able to, if you're one of our MSPs, especially, you're doing your SBRs, you're doing all this stuff, you're doing all the right things so that you've already had those conversations with your client. And when you've already had those conversations and that third party comes and validates your theorem, boom, it's like, it's magical because then you can really go and do the remediation. The great thing about penetration testing is that most penetration testing companies don't do remediation. The remediation is going to fall back on you as the MSP. So you really want to do that pen testing unless you're not doing your job. And then
So
it's
you're-
horrifying.
Right. Absolutely.
I think as well, there's the pen testing, your persistent vulnerability analysis, right? They're also going to help you put these vulnerabilities in business terms, right? Because I think way
Right.
too often we'll talk about things like, oh, there's a problem with our firewall over here or
Yeah.
it's over there. And as soon as you say words like that, business people, their minds just think about anything else, right?
I
they don't
know,
care.
right? It's like they want to run from the hills.
Because they don't care. They really, truly don't care.
Yeah,
They
you're absolutely
care
right
less
about
about a firewall. But when you do the penetration testing, you say, look, here's the problem. People can come from the outside to the inside and steal your stuff.
Exactly. Like,
Here's
yeah,
the
feel
hole
comfortable
right
leaving
there.
your keys to your office right outside the door so they just can walk in
Right.
freely. That's basically what you're doing.
And when you can show that and say, no, this is how we can plug those holes, now you're really speaking business language rather than just technical language. And I think that's really important. So with all of these tools, understanding that and being able to turn those risks away from, hey, it's time to update your hardware to, look, guys, this is really what's happening out there. These are the kinds of risks that you are facing. And here are some recommended solutions that can really help you address those risks. I think that's a pretty powerful thing to do.
Yeah, I think so too. And right now, it seems like it's only getting worse with the security and hacking. It's not getting better. And there's a lot of companies overlooking
Oh,
that.
this-
It's
I have a
crazy,
theory about
right?
that.
And they're more sophisticated.
It's always going to get worse, right? Remember, think back. Have you watched that movie about the Enigma machine with Turing?
Oh,
The
yeah,
Turing
yeah,
machine, yeah, I saw that. Yes.
So when he invented the Turing machine, he invented the thing to break the Enigma, right? And it's just interesting to think that Enigma machine was unbreakable, right? It was unimaginable how complex that code was. And now your Apple Watch could probably break that if you put a couple of commands and it would be like, oh yeah, Enigma, no
100%.
problem, right? And I think that the reality is that the cybersecurity risks are always going to continue to increase because people are always going to be pushing on things.
Yeah.
And we're always
Sure.
getting better technology. We're always
Well,
getting more powerful. So
look,
both sides are always escalating. That's
dude,
just the natural thing.
well,
And ours
here's,
is right.
here's the thing, right? Every time we have a technological advance, in the beginning, it's like, oh, this is awesome. And then the bad guys go, I can use the crap out of that. Because if you don't think that the phishing emails from ChatGPT are going to be grammatically correct and have all the right information,
I am
until-
already getting better text messages and spam emails. Already better because they're using ChatGPT.
I can tell you what's really horrifying as somebody in the cyberspace is now imagine fighting an AI bot that's countering your moves.
Yeah.
In real time. That's what I see coming next.
All of that code that ChatGPT is able to create in 30 seconds. And they're able to create this attack code in 30 seconds. You're going to have to find some way to counter that.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story you were telling me today, Jeff, about the TaskRabbit.
Yeah. So there was this story. It was on Hard Fork, the great podcast, by the way. But they were talking about how the OpenAI was testing ChatGPT and they were using a non-constrained version of ChatGPT to figure out what it could do.
What the limitations are.
Yeah. And so one of the researchers wanted to get around a CAPTCHA. So the CAPTCHA stops the ChatGPT. They can't get around it. So what ended up happening, I don't remember the exact story, but ChatGPT went out and hired a TaskRabbit to do the CAPTCHA for ChatGPT. And when the TaskRabbit guy came back and said, this seems really weird. Do you really need me to figure this out? The ChatGPT, the AI, actually realized that this was a challenge and that it had to come up with a convincing lie so that the TaskRabbit would do the capture. So it made up this whole story about being visually impaired and actually got the TaskRabbit to solve the CAPTCHA so that ChatGPT could break into the system.
Love it.
How cool is that?
That is badass.
Cool for you FBI types. I imagine that's going to keep you in work.
I'm not an FBI agent. We just work with them.
I don't know, Joe, but I think it's the ones who work in the background. Who
Yeah. Those are
We gotta support them. We just help out.
And they're like,
What was that movie? Eagle Eye? What was that
Oh
movie?
gosh, geez. It ain't nothing like that. You guys are pushing, but maybe someday, I don't know. I'll tell you what the AI stuff coming. I tell you, once machines realize we're not the smartest creatures, I think we're in trouble.
yeah, I imagine that the AI
That's about 6 weeks
talking to
from
each
now,
other
by
and
the
they're
way.
like,
I know, right?
guys are really not that smart. They're really not.
Yeah, what's wrong with these humans, man?
humans? They're so easy to trick.
Yeah, you're not kidding. All the social engineering, man, I can get around them. Imagine,
And we're
wait till you.
programming these things with social engineering. So I think that's going to make it like we're programming ChatGPT to be really good at tricking us to do stuff.
Imagine now an AI is going to call you. It's going to sound like me.
Is that so? This phone call I have from you is really an AI.
Yeah, right.
You can understand
Exactly.
me?
Sorry, this is my AI fake.
You were saying that this is actually this PVA. This is your first product.
This is our first product that we're making. So we've identified in the industry, being the software world and the security world, there's a real gap in this space, especially for eyes and ears from the software world. And we made it a product to basically solve that problem. To give you an example, we're already having customers lining up before we even had the product out. What's cool about that is they're also helping us scope the product to make sure it's a really good fit for what their needs are. So basically what we're doing here is, there's a company that can do a pen testing. What separates us is we are also a full development shop. So we can actually do a code review and also the remediation work. As you know, Joe, you mentioned that earlier. Remediation work is something that comes up. We can do that type of work because we are a full dev shop. We have that competency in. But the issue is if we do the work, we can no longer audit our own work moving forward, at least for that pass. We have to have a third-party cyber company as a partner to do that. And that's out of scope. And so that's a whole different thing. But we're able to help them where they might not have the expertise in a certain programming language or database. We're experts in this area. So we can offer those as a kind of a thing. And on top of that, what we've done is we automated all of the pen testing, about 20 different tools that we hit you from AWS. And we automate that over a 6-month cycle and then rinse and repeat another 6 months. And then we basically give you 2 pen tests within an entire year every 6 months. And that's a roll up from what do we learn and how can we make a better plan and can keep rinsing and repeating. And we're calling a PVA or persistent vulnerability assessment.
So people who are interested, we're going to put the link in the show notes. We'll have the link to you in the show notes and people can just reach out to you there. And we twisted Mac's arm before this because we said we've got to get some sort of discount. We don't know what that
Yes, absolutely. If you're coming from there, there is an area, put in a promo code.
I can put an SGM, Start Grow Manage.
Start Grow Manage. All right, yeah, there we go.
All right, so we put that in there, make sure they know what the promo code is in the link. And then we put that in there, we'll make that and we'll give them a discount.
You could get the beta testers too. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. If some of our first people starting, we are giving sweetheart deals to help us refine the product and make it scalable and where we want it to be. It is a new productized version. It's the first time we're making a product for ourselves. Yeah. It's nothing new in some senses because we've been making products for other people, but wearing the other shoe now and kind of from a service-based mindset to a product mindset is a little different.
Well, I've got to say, we are big fans actually of all providers selling products. So the way we see it, our MSPs is they productize their offering because it's really the only way you can create something that is truly repeatable and scalable.
Yeah,
right. I'm a big fan of this, man. I think you've done a great thing. I'm excited to see.
Still in the process, a lot of work ahead of us. We just got the basic plumbing done and the infrastructure to run all this for our first customers. The whole interface for everybody getting access to our portals is still being developed. The service is active live, but having all the bells and whistles is still being worked out. That's why we're giving sweetheart deals to some of the newer companies that are helping us making sure we have a good product. But we just want to do the right thing here. The product of love. Honestly, the money making is really not there. We're just trying to get market share and build a good product to where we see there's a weakness in this area.
I guarantee someone listening right now has a way to break your system. So we will encourage them to come try and break your system. Be a beta tester for MacGyver Tech here and go try out their PVA. And that really brings us to about time. Mac, it's been great chatting with you. Time kind of flew by there, right?
Yeah,
good.
sure did.
Good.
It must be the chair, because I know Joe and me share the same type of chair. Yeah, I like these racing game chairs. I don't know.
Yeah,
Really,
the boring office chair.
Yeah.
Really, I'm going to have to step up my game. So,
Clearly.
Of course, I will point out that my camera has been clear and in focus the whole time, whereas you guys
I know, and my autofocus
you.
is crushing me here. What happened?
Yeah, no, Joe too. Like you guys are always on. I've been in focus, perfectly clear 4K.
Face for radio, so I don't know.
The problem is I'm okay if I've got a face for radio,
What we need is some of that deep fake video to make us look really good, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that probably 6 months from now.
Exactly.
Built in Zoom. And
I no longer do Zooms. My deep fake does them all.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna be there.
Yeah, you make a lot of money if you made something like that. I tell you,
not
how many
even
kids
gonna do
shows
these.
would love that.
We're not even gonna do these interviews anymore. We're just gonna have our deep fakes talk to each other. All right, hey, Mac, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and look forward to more. And I think with that, we'll wrap it up today. It's been great. Anything else, Joe, that we need to mention before we take off?
No, I think we're good, except for that one last thing, which
The one last thing, the thing that the end piece, right? It's just goodbye, right?
no, it's not. It's remember
it's
that you.
adios.
No, remember you are loved. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.